This is Sky Square for actual question. Fire mission. Danger close. England Square. Charlie, Bravo.
Good evening, dog-faced soldiers. You're listening to the 3rd Infantry Division Realism Gaming Podcast. I'm Major LaFlash, Alpha Company Commander. With me tonight, I have our very special First Sergeant, First Sergeant C.Brock.
Evening, gentlemen.
And then also, as a guest speaker, we have Staff Sergeant Ivanov, our first squad leader.
Hello there.
Howdy. Welcome, gentlemen. Fourth quarter has gone. Has come and gone, I should say. So as we move into the new year of 2023, we have a lot of celebrating that we did in the beginning of January here for the outstanding, great 2022 season and year that we've had. We finished off Exodus, got that out of the way. December was, December. Little activity here and there, a lot of family time, which is always great. To get out there and get those gifts. It's also my birthday month, so I kind of enjoy that a lot. One thing that's not so fun about that is your birthday being so close to Christmas. Without further ado, we'll kind of jump into some of our topics today. So with this podcast, just like any other, we usually love to cover some of the big promotions and billet changes that happened over the last quarter, so our fourth quarter, which ranged from October through December of 2022. So Alpha Company and First Platoon had, again, a few leadership billet changes over the last quarter. Not too many changes in Platoon. We did have a couple squad, but some of the big promotions that happened, Cadet Vandal finally completed his officer candidate school and received his commission at our January ceremony. So officially, he is now what we call a butter bar. He's a second lieutenant, where he continues to lead our first platoon Widowmakers from the front. His right-hand man and sidekick, Staff Sergeant Winters, was also promoted to Sergeant First Class in our January ceremony. So they kicked off the year very high speed in terms of receiving their promotions, continuing to do what they do with our platoon, with all the squads. Two outstanding gentlemen. Obviously, we have great leadership at the top there with their real world experience, both being military, with Lieutenant Vandal serving active duty in Germany right now for the U.S. Army. And then Sergeant First Class as well in his nation's military and doing his service as well. So with 3 cab then, we had our very own XO, our brigade XO, Warrant Officer Cooper, who, if some remember, used to be actually one of our squad leaders in the platoon in our unit before switching over to become one of our flight boys, and boy, does he do well there. So him and another warrant officer, Dio, we call him, Dio Mendez, who has a large amount of military experience, is currently in the U.S. military as well. Both were promoted to Chief Warrant Officer 2. Chief Warrant Officer Dio is now one of our flight leaders, and he has been for quite some time. But and then obviously Chief Warrant Officer Cooper continues to hold down that XO slot. They both bring a depth of knowledge and experience to the soldiers that they lead. Some unique things about 3 cab recently. We opened up direct enlistment again. So I did want to touch base on that in terms of the RRO side, the recruiting side of it. 3 cab has a ratio that they follow, 1 pilot or crew chief slot per 5 soldiers infantry that are in our platoon. So it's a 5-to-1 ratio. So currently right now, I think it's landing around that 12 personnel they can have. So direct enlistment only happens when there's slots open. So making sure that obviously we want to fill those slots. The more pilots, the more crew chiefs, the more ground crew that we have to support our 3 cab operations, which is so vital to not just our combat side of things as we're in game doing patrols or FTXs or operations, but in terms of also our schooling, our FIG, our force improvement groups, and getting through courses. Like air assault, very big involved in our 3 cab, our combat medic, things like that are so vital. So then, really, one of our last things to talk about for billet changes, we had a new squad leader move into Third Squad Spartans. He's coming with a wealth of experience. He's a military vet himself as well. With Sergeant Ayers, just took over Third Squad Spartans during Corporal Kelso had to take an LOA for a couple months here. So the third squad leadership changed a little bit in terms of there, but Ayers was one of the FTLs for quite a while. And last podcast, we had Corporal Kelso on here, being the soldier of the quarter, but also taking his role into the third squad SL. So a little switch up there, but ultimately, I think all positions involved, from Sergeant Ayers to Cooper being the XO now, and obviously Vandal and Winters doing what they do in our platoon, is really a very good formula for success. Wouldn't you think?
Yes, sir. Absolutely, and it's served us well within the platoon and the company itself in terms of our operations. Just the fluid nature that each element works together, and it's really due to solid leadership, through and through, from development to the actual boots on the ground in the field with their junior soldiers, kind of leading the charges into the enemy threats.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, first, Sergeant, why don't you talk a little bit about what's happened this last quarter, and our year end?
Yes, sir. Well, 2022 has been a hell of a year. It kept us very busy within the unit at all levels and just about all aspects of our milsim here. I want to say, I feel for you, Major, having a birthday right after Christmas. It's like you basically get half the presents that you normally would because they're so close to close. They're like, we'll just throw one big party. It's all good for the year.
It's a funny story. When I was a kid, I used to get like those little handheld, say like bowling games or poker games.
Oh yeah.
For Christmas, and then I would get the batteries for it on my birthday 2 days later. So
1-2 combo. That's right. Draw out the celebrations. So, but if you guys didn't know, if you didn't catch it on the Third ID YouTube page, we had a Third ID Zargabad Thunder run on Major's birthday. So we partied with him with a couple of M1 Abrams, Bradley fighting vehicles, and we just let loose against some terrorist minded OPFOR in our Zargabad. So that was a real blast, no pun intended. Great way to wrap up the year. Now beyond that, like I mentioned, it's been a hell of a year. We had an 8-month deployment, Operation Blue Giant, to Lithuania. We just returned from that at the end of November, so that was about maybe 5 weeks after the third quarter podcast was published. We were part of NATO Task Force Baltic Night, and we were offsetting Russian separatist power in the region. This was really the first peer-on-peer fight that Third ID has seen in many years. Counterinsurgency was the name of the game throughout most of the, the first basically 2 decades of the 2000s. So in that light, having these 8 months in country fighting the Russians, and I mean, this was a brutal fight. It's one thing to take IEDs and RPGs, in some kind of desert valley. But when you got Russians, coming out of the forest with tanks, I mean, gloves are off, and we really had to earn our way across that battlefield from start to finish. Now, what happened is the Russian army joined the conflict after some ethnic Russian separatists in Lithuania started a insurgency movement. The Russian army crossed into Lithuania from Kaliningrad, and we met them head on, pushing them back over the course of over 2 months. Again, in some of the hardest fighting that the unit has seen in years. Towards the end there, Rangers from the unit also conducted a very high-speed mission to capture a Russian tactical nuclear missile that was, we think, being used as a best, leverage against our push, against the Russians. So in that, we prevented a potentially catastrophic escalation of the war. Really a big win on our side. And like I mentioned, the YouTube channel earlier, just about every week we had videos, either live or recordings of our missions, and that includes the Ranger mission. So if you want to get some more background on our operation, from April up to the end of November, definitely check out those vids. There's a lot of great fights, a lot of fireworks in there, some good dialogue among some really great men in the unit.
100%.
Now, beyond that, we came home. Since the beginning of December, we've been on FTX at Fort Stewart. So we're back home again, enjoying the fresh air. Not that we're not working hard. We're always training up, getting ready for the next mission ahead. But at the same time, being able to kind of shift gears and, focus on, development, kind of regeneration. We got our R&R, and now we're going to see what we can't do coming up in the next year. And needless to say, we're always going to be preparing for the next conflict that'll surely come down the road. Now, I got a couple of figures, some stats here on Operation Blue Giant. All in all, we conducted 18 combat missions and 17 patrols, and that includes the first Third ID Ranger mission in 5 years. That was Mission Cold Steel, again on YouTube. Now, in other news, since we've come home, we're also completing our transition from the Army service uniform to the Army green service uniform, the well-known pinks and greens. CID is currently working on updating our soldiers' personnel file avatars with those new uniforms. They really look quite sharp.
Yes.
There's been a couple examples, and I want to point out majors here. If you guys haven't seen these, go to the website, check out personnel files, and click on Major's P file there. It's got him and his pinks and greens. He just won a Silver Star with V device for his leadership in that Ranger mission. I mean, if you want to see what these things can really look like, man, I mean, that's a good example to check out.
I will, if I can interject, I will say outstanding job to our CID team, our combat imaging and documentation on putting those together. Led by Sergeant First Class Winters. Another call out for him for his hard work on putting those pinks and greens together. It's a long process to do that. And to start from scratch and build it all together has to be shown the amount of dedication and service that Winters has put in. So another call out to him for that.
Yes, sir. And I mean, you said it, start to finish. This isn't something we found on the web, or I should say CID found on the web, and they're just copying and pasting. This was developed in-house. I understand that there were several versions that were presented for final approval. So, I mean, they really went above and beyond in carrying this out correctly and effectively from the start. Great work all around from start to bottom and then back up again. Now, other news in the past quarter, we conducted our unit's Best Squad competition. This has been, quite a buzz. Last quarter, we mentioned it in our podcast then, back in October. We actually carried it out on Sunday, December 4th, 2022. This was our first event back in Fort Stewart on our initial FDX. Now, we had 4 squads altogether of 5 men. There was one squad leader, 1 team leader, 1 combat lifesaver, and then 2 fire team members altogether. A couple of squads started out with 4, managed to scrounge up a 5th member just before start. We had some connectivity issues with a couple of members, so we lost a few over the course of the road. But it was a really great competition. Each squad busted their ass, if I may say so, from start to finish. There were 6 different checkpoints, basically testing them on all kinds of basic infantry and medical skills. This is everything from accurately employing and utilizing heavy weapon systems, crew-served weapons, conducting medical aid, first aid, life-sustaining, treatment, and then, final, combat medic treatment in order to get these soldiers fully restored and back up into the fight. There was weapons marksmanship tests on the rifle and other systems, and it ended with a very challenging mortar pit test, if you will, that really demanded high amount of teamwork, concentration, and planning in order to use those mortar systems. So it really, at all levels, demanded the individual soldier and the squad as a whole, all 5 of them working together in order to achieve success. And the points were really close. Like I said, our winner is 4th Squad, led by Specialist D. Fernandez. With him, he had Specialist S. Wolf and PV2 C. William. They had the high score, really shining on the mortar pit.
Yes.
That 6th station, man, they really, it all came down to that, and they put it all together. Really outstanding soldiering. The other squads, 1, 2, and 3, they came pretty close. I mean, this was a matter of a couple hundred points. If I remember correctly, they were able to get a total of 1,776 points. First squad, if I remember off the top of my head, was about 1,082. So, they weren't, towards the top margin because it was that difficult, but they were able to put together enough showing there to get 100 points here. Some squads got another 100 points there, and fourth squad came out ahead. But it was really neck and neck all up until that last mortar test there with fourth squad at the end.
Yeah, fourth squad sneaked it out with just roughly 90-point lead over second.
There you go.
Second
All right.
team. So, and then we actually Staff Sergeant Ivanov was leading one team until I think your internet choked out on you, and then who was it? Sergeant Ayers or who? Lewis took over for you? No, somebody took over for you.
No, my internet was fine. I was there for the whole competition.
Oh, were you? Who was I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking of the Marsh Rao. Marsh's
That's
internet.
right, second squad.
Second squad. So took second place and their SL went down. But I know Sergeant Ivanov here was the very first team to get some people, his squad round up and a team put together. Ultimately, I think you took third place, which again, those points, it was you were 99 points off of lead. So that's how close you were to taking that, and that's simply just one lane, really. So, what was your thoughts of best squad? I know you guys battled extremely hard through it.
Yeah, I think that competition was pretty good. Even though Major, I remember you giving us the wrong coordinates for the Alpha checkpoint.
Come on, you don't need to say that. Come on.
And still, we managed to come to the right place,
Yep.
After all, I think this competition actually tested us like a bunch of different stuff like guns, medical stuff, Mark 19. I've never used it. And one of my guys used it and it was fun. Overall, I think it was fun and it was a very good experience.
Yeah, I mean, if taking a quick look at the score sheet, your team actually scored the best at the First Sergeant's board. So ranking, first place in that's a lot of information that you have to know and be tested on. So outstanding job there, knowing your squad and who should get the hard question and who should get the easiest question. And but ultimately, this is something that I definitely want to run again. And if other units are listening to this podcast, we're hoping to invite other units. So if you're interested in being a part of a best squad competition here in the it'd be just at the end of Q2, so July timeframe is when we're looking, beginning of July. Please contact me, hit me up. I'd love to see if we can get together. It's a 5-man team is all you need, 5 people to have one team involved. So come check us out and hit us up.
All right. So to wrap up the 2022 review, just a couple other points. Last quarter, we mentioned the squad leader development course ongoing. To date, all squad leads have completed the course, and now, of our 8 fire team leaders, we've got several of them currently in the process of completing it. It's quite a challenge, but at the same time, the benefit here, the kind of things that these developing leaders learn and are able to employ in the field, really, I mean, that's what makes the difference between success and failure at our kind of level of MILSIM. We take this pretty seriously, and we're not going to be, I don't know, we don't use and abuse soldiers. We're not here to make people miserable. We're here to have a good time together. But, when people bring military bearing and professionalism, at least some degree of that to their Arma expertise, it all comes together. And I mean, it is an outstanding exercise in teamwork and mission accomplishment. Now, with that being said, got a couple of SShop review figures here for you in 2022. It was a busy year for just about everybody in their duty MOSs. A lot of work, a lot of people coming in, and with that, the activity rate goes up. Now, I want to talk about S3 Force Improvement Group, our training shop. As the NCOIC and with Major here as our OIC, I've got some numbers here. Altogether, throughout 2022, we ran 81 courses, and that includes 46 OSITs, so almost one OSIT a week. On average, in reality, we ran a course every 4.5 days. Very busy, probably the busiest year in recent memory. Now, in first quarter 2023, that is, we're going to continue on with a number of basic and advanced courses. That includes weekly OSITs. We've got Air Assault School coming up on the 28th. I'll be running Airborne School and EIB, our Expert Infantry Badge qualification, as well this quarter.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's going to be a good show. I want to see who's up to the challenge here coming up next month. Beyond that, of course, we'll run CLS, 68 Whiskey, our Combat Medic School, and LANAV. It's our infantryman's bread and butter in terms of training. So, a lot of things for those who are looking, to learn skills that they can not only employ in Arma to be a more effective soldier, but actually take some knowledge out into the real world and apply in real life. Whether we're talking leadership development, like the Warrior Leaders course, Basic Leaders course, or Advanced Leaders course, or LANAV. I mean, that's something that you can take to work, take out in your leisure time out in the woods, whatever the case is. When we say milsim, I mean, yeah, we're not going to be making you stand in the sun for 3 hours, but at the same time, we will challenge your mind and your abilities in game, because we want to bring out the best in all of our soldiers. All right, so beyond that, RO, recruiting and retention. In quarter four, they had 39 applications accepted. The year-end totals for recruiting, we had 202 applications accepted, 118 dropped. Really, they had a very strong year. As is the case a lot of the times in a lot of units, there's a bit of a roller coaster. Some ups and downs. Some peaks. After school lets out during the summertime. Around holiday season, things like that, and some valleys in between. But all in all, they kept working hard, and they are growing again to make the most of 2023. Now, looking at S4 logistics, we have a couple of shops there. BMO, our base maintenance operations, had 438 maintenance requests received throughout 2020 year. I mean, that's
insane.
Yeah, I mean, more than one a day. A handful of guys, very skilled, talented, really, they know their stuff. But man, it was a brutal slog, some weeks, some months, just because of the number of requests. We're always, again, trying to be in best form. That goes on everything from our website to, our personnel files to, everything that we have in game. We really want to maintain the best standards as possible. And it's due to the hard work of the soldiers we have in shops like that really make it a success. It's one thing to spend a couple, hours on a Sunday in server, on, playing in our operation, but who's going to get the server up? Who's going to make sure that it's mod? There are so many things behind the scenes that you don't always, take away or take notice of from the start. It's all that work behind the scenes that make our unit what it is. Now, furthermore, in S4 and our CID, Combat Imaging and Documentation, they process 647 imagery requests throughout the year. So BMO, they were backed up. Really just had to work through night and day to get things together. CID, man, that's a lot of people coming in. Promotions, that's yeah. I mean, it's insane, and not only is there some technical and some military knowledge that goes into that shop, but some artistry as well. Being able to use Photoshop or GIMP, other kind of graphics programs, and be able to make things look the way they should look. It really takes some skill, and I mean, that's the thing. These guys make this all look easy. It's a lot. But they sit down a couple hours, once a week, and just the kind of work that they're able to knock out just blows my mind. So really impressive work all throughout in S4. Last shop, Core Engineers, they had 14 mod updates throughout 2022. We were running our Iron Front World War II server for a while, got that switched back over to SOG Prairie Fire. That's been a hell of a run again. Prairie Fire's been out almost 2 years now. And with the recent patches and updates, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be going strong for the foreseeable future. We have such a great time employing our squad and platoon tactics in that that Vietnam era scenario, and it's amazing how little basic infantry skills, basic soldiering changes. The technology changes, some of the tactics, the doctrines might change here and there, but a good soldier, he can get it done no matter what time, what place he's at. And last but not least, I want to talk real quick about S6 Communications. Our public affairs office published 134 news articles throughout 2022. I'm a journalist there. I do what I can, but we've got some great journalists, reporters, a number of broadcast combat journalists that keep our YouTube page or social media, just moving with, fresh action, fresh, streams and recordings of our activities and events. There were 70 videos from those broadcast combat journalists throughout the year. So, I mean, that is more than one a week.
Yeah.
There's a lot to see. A lot of great times that we've had, some real tough fights. I thought some moments where I thought we might not, all come back in one piece without respawning. But, it all came together because of those great soldiers and their soldiering. So, a lot of great work done throughout the unit. And that's what keeps us going, what keeps us ticking. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we can't do, behind the scenes in 2023.
I mean, those numbers are just massive. If you think about this, how to us this is a gaming hobby of ours, and the way we run our unit, and um, the longevity and history of our unit, and how many years we've been doing it. I mean, our DMOSs are so important. I mean, they may seem like the job side of our unit, and for us that are in some of those leadership roles and having to keep I guess our fingers in and everything moving forward, that wheel moving forward. But ultimately, it's the firm belief that many hands make light work. And kind of going into some of the DMOSs, a little bit about like just news wise, and current DMOSs that are hiring, and what we're looking for. So if you're listening to this, and definitely if you're under the rank of a specialist, or your PFC, or coming into the unit, and listening to this, I mean, um, you, we have the requirement of being in a DMOS to go above the rank of E4 specialist. And so there's DMOSs that are always hiring. The one of the main ones that I'm a firm believer in is recruiting and retention. Obviously, we always need new people coming in. Without a strong recruiting and retention team, it doesn't matter if we have great looking uniforms and an outstanding PAO. We don't have people to actually play and be a part of those items. So recruiting and retention is always hiring, always looking for more recruiters. We just promoted Sergeant Marsh and Warrant Officer Candidate Lancaster to the senior recruiter role, and that's led by Sergeant Ayers and um, First Lieutenant Frost. Sergeant Ayers being the one that just got promoted into that new SL slot. He's hitting the ground running, starting here in 2023, and really focusing hardcore on that recruiting and retention team. Kind of going into some of our S2 intel, which First Sergeant you lead, as our S2 NCYC, or our S2 intel, I should say. We're still looking for that readiness NCO, to assist in mission making, and editing, and ultimately it's a game master. You're a game Zeus for us during our combat operations and FTXs and things like that. That's a readiness NCO slot, so he'd be up in the platoon level. If you're interested in knowing more, First Sergeant is really looking to cultivate and develop talent for this extremely critical, really mission critical billet that we need. Currently, right now, Zeus is really being handled little by little through all of command staff, and Lieutenant Tucci, Lieutenant Frost, First Sergeant here. We're looking into getting somebody that's currently in our unit, or if you're listening to this and you are a Zeus and want to look into it, please. It's worth a question. We want to see what skills each person has. Make sure that they have the same mindset, same ideas, and is going to follow our mission storyline per se. But we're definitely looking for a readiness NCO, which then can grow even higher than platoon level and get into company level, which then more is involved in that. So with S3 operations under FIG, several slots open for range safety officers and drill instructors. Range safety officers, those are like your starting positions getting into FIG and being a part of basic trainings, our OSETs, and all those great courses that first aren't listed that are coming up here. We need trainers. So if you have a skill set or you've been through them and you want to continue to do it, please come see us. BMO continues to lock down, have things really covered under Sergeant Garcia and Lieutenant Tucci. Currently right now, they do have some electronic maintenance chiefs open, but those are really by, you have to be in DMOS, into the DMOS, understand what those are. Being an electronics maintenance chief is a invite by BMO only. So if you have a skill set that involves, a little bit of coding and things like that, please reach out to Sergeant Garcia, and he'd be able to really give you a quick overview on what's kind of expected. CID, ultimately, we kind of locked down a lot of things in CID. Currently, right now, we just hired a couple multimedia illustrators, promoted them from uniform updaters. CID, I would say we're always looking for that skill set. We do have a great staff there, led by Sergeant, as I said, Sergeant First Class Winners. And then Staff Sergeant Babel's been kind of like our uniform updater lead in ensuring and helping there. And definitely with those new uniforms coming out, we had a lot of things happening at once in CID. So Corps of Engineers continues to do what Corps of Engineers does. Between Warrant Officer Cooper, or Chief Warrant Officer Cooper, I should say, and Lieutenant Tucci, being able to continue to overlook our servers, our mod packs. They've been pretty solid lately. We just had a mod pack update beginning of the year. We'll have another one coming up as we talk more about our upcoming operation and what region we might be going to. But then ultimately, that's where we're at with Corps of Engineers, and then wrap it all up with public affairs. We're looking always for more broadcast journalists. Currently, right now, we are looking for an NCOIC. I had a couple interviews and narrowing that down on who might be taking that slot, but ultimately, the great work done by our broadcast journalists. We have some new broadcast journalists, combat journalists that have been doing outstanding work with Specialist Mariki. PFC Starling Shocked is in there, being able to get in and edit as many videos and record and stream with myself. But being able to rely on that and continue to grow that YouTube and our social media is key. Corporal McKenzie doing an outstanding job leading the announcement team, which is what you're a part of, our First Sergeant, with our journalists. But ultimately, yeah, we're busy. We got a lot of things on the table, a lot of pokers in the fire. But ultimately, I mean, this is the side of our unit that really runs the day-to-day. Being able to get on and play on the weekends and have fun with squad drills and platoon FTXs or unit drills or fun ops. That's the fun, attractive side of the unit, and it takes great soldiers, like I've mentioned, to really make sure that all the glue is in place so that we're held together tightly, and that's through our DMOSs, which is why it's so vital that we continue to appreciate and show that thanks to those that are really making a difference in these DMOSs, because it's easy to get in one and do nothing. As any OIC or NCOIC or lead may be chuckling right now, knowing, oh yeah, there's a few of those around, and then we have to get on them and say, all right, well, we got to find somebody. But ultimately, DMOS is so important to me.
Roger that. I mean, it's absolutely true. For every hour that we spend in server together, whether it's squad drills or FDX or operations, there's at least another hour, in one DMOS or another, to make sure that, like you said, the glue is there, the unit is held together, and that we are running as a unit. Now, next up, I want to shift gears and talk about Arma 3 news. We've had another quarter. Looking at the Armaverse, there isn't a whole lot really to talk about here tonight. I will say it's been about 8 months since the release of Arma Reforger. Mod developers have begun to to release some really great additions, and you can see the mods. I think it was like 70 some pages last I checked in terms of the mod offerings in game. At the same time, Reforger really still hasn't established a foothold in the milsim community. I've seen a couple of units release some videos of operations, fire team or squad level operations, no real large scale ops like we like to run. But at the same time, you can have some fun rolling with good people, but it's a little bit clunky. I think there's some room for improvement and further development is needed. I mean, this is early release. It was never, sold to be or sold as a final project or product, I should say. So it is to be expected, but I'm optimistic that we'll get more in the near future, and hopefully that we'll start to see something solid about Arma 4. Now, with that, and actually, before I go on, let me ask you, gentlemen, Major, Staff Sergeant, do you have any Arma news on your side? I mean, we can talk about mods here in a few segments, but anything on your mind in terms of the Armaverse, Prairie Fire, and any other DLCs before we roll on?
Well, ultimately, I mean, Arma, Arma 3 has been around, that Arma Reforger. I mean, we kind of talked about that. That's really that bridge gap in between Arma 3 and Arma 4. So as we continue to, progress down the Arma Reforger, they're really using that as the, this is how we're going to beta test everything and put it out there in Unreal maybe 5 when Arma 4 comes out. But ultimately, I know for us, in terms of Arma and what's that look like, we have our next campaign coming down the pipeline as S2 is working on really the backstory, where that's going. I know we plan to release a little bit more info about it at our next company ceremony here. So if you're listening and want to know more, definitely attend that next ceremony, and hopefully we'll be able to release, what region we might be deploying to, and what's that look like. Potentially even a name, or at least what force we might be fighting and going towards. But that might add a couple things to our mod pack, depending on where that is. But no, ultimately, I think Arma 3 is just slow and steady. It's continuing to do what it does, and we just got done with the winter Steam sale, so quite a few new soldiers joining and trying out Arma for the first time. So if you're listening to this, new to Arma, please come check us out, thirdinf.us, and get you in there and trained up the way Arma is meant to be. So.
All right, appreciate that. All right, next up, let's get into the Soldier of the Quarter segment. As Major introduced, as we've heard previously in this podcast, with us tonight we have Staff Sergeant Ivanov, our first squad Scorpion squad leader. Accomplished, experienced, decorated. He's been there and done that with us through several operations, several different combat deployments. So really, in a way, an old hand and an expert, and a serious force in our unit. Now, Staff Sergeant, it's great to have you with us here. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you, First Sergeant. Well, my name is Roman Ivanov. I'm from St. Petersburg, Russia, the city right next to Finland. I love Finland. I usually spend my vacation there, but now I can't, unfortunately, due to some, situation around my country. But still, we have to live our lives, right? I work for like a car repairing company. Specifically, I'm dealing with their database. I watch that everything is done correctly, like inside the base. I work with like people inside the company and teach them how to deal with like several situations. For example, if they don't know how to deal with stuff or how to work with the database, I'm supposed to teach them so they could work in a proper way. For my free time, I have like several hobbies that include like reading books. Like I'm a big sci-fi guy, so I read like a lot of Star Trek books, Star Wars books. I like a month ago, I bought like all the expense books. If you know, that's the modern sci-fi show. That's very good. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly suggest you to watch it. Yeah. Also, my hobbies are like to go to concerts or go to pubs or bars. Depends who I'm going with. You know, typical Russian life.
Sure.
Lots of alcohol. I like it.
Yeah, lots of alcohol. Also, I play video games. Like I play Arma, as you can tell by now. Also, I play like a lot of RTS games, RPGs. I'm a big like Dragon Age fan, stuff like this. I mean, nowadays there's not a lot of things going on in my city, so I do not go like somewhere a lot. But still have some concerts to go to. For example, like we have a lot of concerts in churches. Not like religious concerts, but with organs, and they're pretty awesome. I actually highly enjoy them.
All right. Well, let me ask you. Like I mentioned previous, you've been in Third ID for some time now. Why did you join originally, and what has kept you all these years?
Well, I used to play Arma since the game had Operation Flashpoint name. I even have like a licensed CD right next to me. So one day I found a guy called Rubik's Raptor on YouTube, and he posts like videos about him gaming Arma and other games with this community, and I like, damn, this Arma 3 game looks fun. I want to play it, and I don't want to play it alone. I just want to play with some community. So I googled like US Army Museum, and I found like 3D. I checked the website. The website was awesome. I liked it a lot. Still like it. I checked I checked your streams, your time zones, and everything was so awesome. So like, I should sign up, and I sign up. Well, I'm staying here because the people, like people that I'm gaming with, the people that actually taught me how to play this game, that went me through OSUT and stuff. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask. In your time here, can you recall any favorite or funny or memorable moments?
Oh yeah, I have a lot. For example, like I said before, when Major gave us the wrong coordinates during the best squad competition. that was pretty funny, to be honest. Like the first airborne mission, I think it was my second mission in the unit, and we went airborne. It was so cool. Like launching our striker into orbit by hitting another striker. It was like in the first 10 missions, I think. It was pretty good. I laughed a lot.
Good times.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm never gonna live down the I gave the first 3 squads the wrong coordinates. It was the 4th squad. No, I gave the first 2 squads. The 3rd squad was the one that was like, "You sure?" Like, oops.
Yeah, it was close enough.
Yeah, I mean, you walked right by it. Come on.
Yeah, they all made it. So, good to go. All right. Well, Staff Sergeant, let me ask you, do you have any advice to give to your fellow soldiers to help them in their careers here?
Yeah, if the soldiers want to achieve something, they should stay true to their goals, and they just should do what they got to do, Just go there with full dedication, and your efforts will not go unnoticed.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I have to agree 100%. Now, of the 7 core Army values, which value is the most important to you and why?
In my opinion, selfless service, respect, and loyalty. Because we must respect each other, of course, respect each other's work. It doesn't matter if it's like in the unit, in gaming community, or in real life.
What motivates you in the unit? A minute ago you mentioned setting goals and pursuing them with, everything you got, your full effort. What is it that, motivates you this stage, having achieved so many goals? What keeps you moving?
Mainly people, because like I joined because of the people, I'm staying here because of the people. Like for example, I know Second Lieutenant Vandal, that basically made me a team leader. He like one day he like, hey, I want you to become a team leader. You have like everything you need to become a team leader. So you should become one. And like, yeah, okay, if you have that confidence in me, I'll try, but like, no promises. Hey, and look at me, I'm a squad leader now.
You've been leading the squad, yeah.
Yep. Well, Staff Sergeant, have you learned any valuable lessons while you've been here in the Third ID?
Well, I think it's giving second or third chances sometimes, because I came to the idea that we all have our lives and stuff happens all the time. So and this stuff can like affect us all the time. So sometimes you just need to understand what's going on in someone's life and just like, okay, I got you. Understand if you need like any help, just tell me and I'll try to do whatever I can. Even if the guy by the first impression was not that good or was like a horrible person, still I think we should like understand what's going on in his life and why he's like that.
Roger that. Well, thank you very much, Staff Sergeant.
Thank you, First Sergeant.
All right. Chime in a little bit. Staff Sergeant, you've been amazing. It was a great honor to be able to have the nomination of you for Soldier of the Quarter, and then be able to vote on that during our last command staff meeting, and be able to award the Soldier's Medal to you in January. But just to wrap up with you a little bit, I mean, you've been with us since August of 21. So you've been coming up on a couple of years now, and I mean, you've earned 16 humanitarian service medals. Not as many as the first sergeant here, though.
He's getting
so
close.
I will be there. I will be there.
He's getting there. Those that don't know, you have to get a lot of clan list votes, 60 a month. So 2 times a day consecutively every single day, which I can't do. um, but ultimately, I mean, you're highly qualified. Airborne, air assault, ranger, and you do outstanding work in our FIG. And yeah, I highly thank you for your service, and I look forward to what the years of what you can continue to bring past this staff sergeant role, past this SL role that you're already doing so well in, and see what that entails for you.
Thank you, Major. I have a lot of goals in this unit. I will be there in the
All right.
company one day.
We got either First Sergeant Ivanov or Major Ivanov. I don't know which one you want. No.
Well, Command Sergeant Major sounds nice.
Oh, Command Sergeant. Oh, you're going for
Mm.
Gilmore's job. I see.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again, Staff Sergeant. Next up, we have a segment called "The Man Behind the Rank." So this one has slipped through the cracks. I'm gonna say for quite a while because he's somebody that's been in the unit for over 3 years now. Just hit his 3 year 19 days ago, and he's been a very humble man, somebody that has constantly been here, day in, day out, highest for that 3 year period. Obviously, probably the highest attendance in our unit in terms of things, and he's kind of slipped through the cracks, and I'll tell you why. Because he's one of our hosts. So, First Sergeant has been slipping through being a host for the podcast, not really seeing that, oh yeah, I haven't done the soldier or the man behind the rank. I'm like, hey, have you done one? I looked through like all these past ones and I'm like, I haven't seen you. He's like, nope. So he got lucky. I believe we weren't doing the podcast back when you were the soldier of the quarter, correct? I don't believe
That's right. Yeah.
So it wasn't around. This is now just landing on starting our third year of podcasts. We took I'd say about a 2 to 3 year gap in between when Lieutenant Johnson used to do it to when we finally got a strong enough public affairs team again, and consistency in there. And First Sergeant, you're a large part of that, being with the podcast since day one with me. And then I'm really just interchangeable. It's making sure that you're there, and you have a co-host, which will be that NCYC for public affairs, and being able to have those special guests like Sergeant Ivanov here as Soldier of the Quarter, and whoever first quarter Soldier of the Quarter is next podcast, and the new man behind the rank. Ideally, this segment, we usually try to, it's a senior member in the unit. But as we kind of wrap down, I think First Sergeant, you're one of the last command staff members that we have left to do man behind the rank. So really going into a little further, we're going to be dipping down into maybe some of those SLs, getting into 3-cab, talking to maybe that XO with Cooper. So there's a large possibility of what that looks like. Maybe even dipping into some of our old retired soldiers and pulling them out of the old folks home to get to know them again and obviously talk about their service that have been with us is all on the table for where future podcasts will go with Man Behind the Rank, being that now First Sergeant, you're our last command staff member that hasn't done one with us. So without further ado, we'll kind of jump into what that looks like for Man Behind the Rank. So ultimately, First Sergeant, you enlisted back in December of 2019. From there, you kind of came up through First Squad. You are you were a squad leader of First Squad, which coincides is also Staff Sergeant's squad here. So you were one of the old goats of Scorpions, and shortly around beginning of 2021, so 2 years ago, you took over as platoon sergeant and served as that for almost a full year, over a full year before moving up into that company First Sergeant role and being really my right hand man for things. So your years of service are extremely dedication. Don't go unnoticed. Currently serving the last 10 months as just a first sergeant. And where does that look like for as we grow? And frankly, now you're maxed until I'm same with me. I'm maxed. So we only benefit from growth of the unit, but I think we both have exact same mindset, which what makes this partnership work so well is that it's all about the quality of our team versus the quantity of our teams. So welcome. I'm glad to be able to finally be able to do your man behind the rank.
Yes, sir. Well, you got me all this time in the podcast, and yeah, I've been kind of just trying to keep things organized and running smoothly. But I appreciate the kind words. It's been a hell of a ride coming in here. When I joined up, 3 years ago, I made it a point to hit the ground running, and I wanted to maximize the unit, the experience, and everything it could do in it. And I was able to make the time. Met some great people, developed some great relationships, and just had a really just a complete blast along the way in just about everything we're doing, whether it's Sunday operations or a fun op during midweek. There's always something here to keep me coming back, and I've really enjoyed it the whole time.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad it's there for you, and obviously you got years to go. Because I'm at 17 years coming up, and you got a little bit to catch up. All right.
Run to that. I'll see what I can do, sir. I'm running.
So with that, I want to ask you a couple questions to really get to know you. The whole segment is to really know the man behind the rank, the man behind who is First Sergeant Brock, besides our awesome company First Sergeant. So in terms of aspects of the unit, what's your favorite part of the unit?
Well, really, I think it's teamwork. I mentioned military bearing, professionalism. Those are really characteristic traits of leaders in infantry, or really any, whether you're talking military, civilian, any kind of organization. When you put those together, you have outstanding teamwork, and that's one thing that I've seen here the whole time. I've tried to do my part in focusing on the team, developing it, and each of the soldiers within it. From first squad leader, up to first sergeant, working with the the more senior NCOs now. And I see a lot of other soldiers here in the unit doing the same thing, or at least going along that same route, really bringing out the best in people. And we don't have any prima donnas. We don't have any people who are in it for themselves. When everybody buckles down, when we have, we hear that first explosion in the distance, or that first round come zinging over our heads, everybody they fall into line. They work. It's like we work as an organism. It's like it's almost a little freaky. How we flow and just complement each other's firepower on the battlefield. Teamwork is important to me in real life, and definitely, because I only got so much time, for leisure during the week, working and all that. I want to make sure that every hour I spend in game is, the best experience that it can be. And, this unit is where it's at as far as I'm concerned.
Outstanding. I like that. So to get to know you personally a little bit, what's some of your favorite foods?
Well, believe it or not, if I had to narrow, if I were on a desert island, or I don't know, if I were locked in a cell and I could only have one food forever, I would probably have my wife's butter chicken curry. It's an Indian dish, South Asian Indian. A little spicy. She makes it kind of like they do in the restaurant, man. And I mean, it is just outstanding. Get that on a little basmati rice. I personally, I like to drink it with a nice big beer. But you give me, it's a little off the wall. Not quite American, but I just love it. But beyond that, give me a good steak. Give me some steak, some fried potatoes. Baked potato, even maybe some steamed broccoli. Again, big mug of beer. That's a little more simpler fare, but that'll get it done, man. That fills me up. But I try everything, but nothing beats a good hearty dinner. It's one of my favorite meals.
100%, 100%. So when is your birthday?
I am a June baby, so I'm actually, if you want to, I guess if you all know, I get a lot of shit for it especially among the junior NCOs. But I'm 43, born in June. Not really into zodiacs or horoscopes or anything like that, but that's my chronology. I'm probably towards the kind of upper end of the first sergeant age range in the actual army. So I was like, hey man, if the boot fits, wear it. So. Um, I'm no spring chicken, but at the same time, got a lot of energy, a lot of fire in me yet, and I like to say a lot of experience. I've developed myself in this unit, used what I've learned here professionally, working with volunteers. I mean, we're all, when you think about it, we talked about the DMOS work, all the the effort, the time, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that go into all that behind the scenes work. You can not only learn from that, but also apply it working with other people in the real world. And that's one thing that I prided myself in here, that I can use that kind of knowledge to bring out the best in other people to really develop that team. So I've got a lot of energy left in me. So like you said, we'll see what happens over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We see what my rack's looking like then.
So with that energy, do you have to keep up with any pets?
I do. I have 2 dogs. They are Dorgies. They're Dachshund Corgi mixes. I know Queen Elizabeth II was real big into Dorgies. I think they had a couple of puppies get together and they didn't expect it, and they had these really cute, sweet dogs. And I was fortunate enough to get a couple of those from a friend of ours who, her dogs had puppies, and she had like a litter of 9, and we're like, hey,
Wow.
we'll take 2. We got brother and sister who are really tight. Um, just really sweet dogs. Kind of medium sized. They got a lot of energy too. It's a lot to keep up with them. They're about they're 12 years old now. So they're, they got a little gray around the muzzle, but still just, kicking with every step. And at the end of the night, after all the work's done, after I've turned the computer off and I'm just relaxing, it's great to sit with them and read a book, or, maybe have another mug of beer.
Yeah, puppy cuddles, nothing better.
Hmm.
So what do you do? What do you do for a living?
Well, I work for a church. I'm a director of faith formation. So essentially, what I tell people is, think of me as a Sunday school principal. Now, I do run a Sunday school. I do run other classes, instructional segments, spiritual retreats, things along those lines for my church during the week and, weekends. A lot of late nights, weird hours, catching people after work and that kind of thing. Just going out and trying to spread the faith, and kind of like I try to bring out the best of our soldiers here. I try to make the most of other people's understanding, their faith, their knowledge, and bring them closer to God. I mean, that's what I'm all about. It's in
Nice.
this day and age, we don't talk about it a lot. Obviously, we got a lot of churches, a lot of faithful church-going people, but it's not something you hear in the news a lot anymore, unless there's some kind of tragedy or a scandal or anything. But I'm trying to bring out the best of people, and I do that mostly through teaching.
Okay, nice. That's That's pretty awesome. Other than gaming, what do you do when you're unplugged? What are some of your hobbies?
Well, I try to keep busy. I got a lot of, there's physical hobbies and there's kind of, I guess, mental hobbies, intellectual hobbies, if you will. I definitely like to spend time outdoors. I love deer hunting. When you get into the late fall, early winter season, obviously the trees are vibrant colors during bow season. It gets cool. You can sit out there with that bacon in the sun. A lot of fresh air, just the kind of breeze in the woods. I love being out at dawn when the woods comes to life. You start hearing birds kind of scratching around the leaves, and then they start chirping. All of a sudden, the whole woods comes alive. You got birds flying, squirrels, running around. The deer start creeping out. Well, you're about to nod off, and all of a sudden, you see the silhouette in the distance there. You're like, oh shit, excuse me, but you snap back and get that a little shot of adrenaline. And I do that with my family as well. We like to go out together. Sometimes we'll work together in the field. We'll use, some small unit tactics to try to get the most of the hunt, and each of us, fill our tag. Beyond that, being in education, in faith, I spend a lot of time reading, watch a lot of videos on YouTube. I've gotten tired of Netflix and Hulu, some of the streams out there, but on YouTube, I can get a lot of historical videos. I watch old Arma videos, Army videos, World War II documentaries. The Army used to have a show called The Big Picture that they broadcast every week, and it's like half an hour, sometimes an hour of military history, and they've got the original footage. I mean, that if I've got half an hour to kill after dinner, I just want to kind of sit down and relax for a few minutes, I'll put that on. But I mean, there's so many great channels out there. Watch a lot of gaming videos. Seeing how other units are doing things in addition to all the offerings we got on our channel. So that's the thing, man. Going out, get some fresh air, hiking, hunting, shooting, gaming, reading and writing. I mean, those are probably my big four. And beyond that, just getting together with friends, having a good time. Get some food and some drink together.
More beer.
Always. I have to say, it's like I never bragged about drinking. I don't drink as much as I used to. I'll admit it. It's like I can have a good, I mean, give me three mugs of beer, man. I'm good. So it's just part of that experience. I would never do it again like I did it when I was in my early 20s, man. That was crazy. But yeah, good friends and 6-pack of beer, man. That's for a good afternoon.
Awesome. So, any advice that you would give to somebody that maybe is thinking of joining the unit or, new to Arma?
Sure. Well, I mean, like I said, I came in here, hit the ground running. If you're new to Arma, it can be overwhelming at first. I mean, you've got like, I don't know, like 110 different key bindings. I mean, it's probably more than that once you get the mods loaded up. It's a lot to take in. I know some people that wanted to use their PlayStation controller for it. They managed to get it working technically, but they also got shot in the face a lot because they couldn't move and interact like we do with the keyboard. So you definitely got to be interested in PC gaming. Hopefully you're experienced in it. Console transitions, not as easy. But with that being said, stick with it. Take some time to get smooth. Muscle memory is a big thing in gaming, regardless of your interface. So just learn the interface. Get your your fingers and your mouse. Get your body into the game. And as I always say to my men, our trainees, practice makes perfect. That's the one thing. If you're a little bit rough, you need to get polished. Get in the game, man, and by all means, talk to some people in your team. Say, listen, I want to try this, or can you teach me that? Just go 100%. We've got some solid guys here, both in leadership and the teams themselves, and they will, they'll show you what you need to know to succeed here in Third ID. You got the right attitude and the energy, man, and you're dedicated to getting up to speed. And by all means, if you've got the skills already and you just want to run with a really tight unit, that's the thing. Get involved and get to know your fellow soldiers, and they'll take care of you the rest of the way.
Nice. Awesome. So switching it up a bit, in genres of music, what do you listen to?
Oh, shoot, I listen to, I mean, all kinds of stuff. Probably, the general rock genre is probably my most favorite. I listen to a lot of metal, late 70s, 80s metal. Metallica was kind of my thing back in high school. They really got me into metal. a lot of classic rock, hard rock. I like folk music, whether you're talking about Appalachian bluegrass or Irish fight songs. There's some German folk groups that did some like they sing medieval hymns and incantations, all kinds of crazy stuff. I listen to ancient church music, ancient hymns from the Middle Ages. So I mean, it's the one thing I kind of like it hard and fast. So I like it upbeat, high tempo, but it's also got to be forceful. It's got to be loud. I love going to concerts and just feeling the bass, feeling that the roar of the guitar is kind of like shaking my chest, just like going through my torso like an energy wave or something. I like to feel the music, and if it's catchy, it'll stimulate my mind at the same time. It's something to get lost into almost, a real I guess I won't call it a distraction, but if you've had a long day and you want to take your mind off the work at hand, or just kind of shift your mental gears, I think music is a great way to relax. In addition to that stimulation. So, but I'm mostly in it for the hard and fast stuff.
Good. So, any siblings?
Yeah, affirm. I've got a brother and a sister, both younger. I'm the oldest of the three. My sister is 4 years older, and my brother, 4 years younger, and then my brother is 10 years younger. Um, Great people. My sister works for a deaf school. She works in the deaf community. Really dedicated, very studious, disciplined. I mean, the way she puts her nose to the grindstone, I don't know, it puts me to shame. She is totally committed to her work. My brother works in technology. He's an IT guy. It's kind of funny because he looks and talks like I do. And I remember when we were growing up, he'd come up behind my mom and she'd call my name thinking it was me and vice versa. And we were always offended. It's like, no, it's me. It's like you don't even know your own son. So we always kind of kidded her about that. But yeah, we were really tight growing up, still are. A lot of the same interests. He's real big into gaming. He alpha test games, and he's like, we talk about our NDAs. It's like, yeah, I know how it is. I tell you more, but I can't tell it's published. But really good guy. So growing up, we got along pretty well. We're all doing our thing now as adults, and some of my favorite people.
Nice. Okay. So what are some of your pet peeves?
Number one, I have to say, arriving late. Now, when I was younger, when I was a kid, certainly I didn't take showing, and I knew showing up on time was important, but I didn't feel it like I do now. Now, being in the real world, putting work together, preparing things, getting everything ready to go, whether I'm on the job or I'm here in the unit putting a training event together. When you get all that work done and you're ready to go at start time, and your people or your trainees aren't there, or they come in late, or they make a distraction on the way in, that just gets me. Like I said, we're all here to have fun, but there's so much that goes into pulling that off. If you're just doing stuff randomly, it's going to show. People are going to fall apart. Teams will fall apart. People will not have a good time. So preparation is key. And when you go through that and somebody comes through the door, 10, 15, 20 minutes late, man, that gets me.
Yeah, you're not the only one, I think, with that one. How about guilty pleasures?
Well, I mentioned the beer. It's like I'm going to sound like a drunk now talking about beer this whole time. Especially considering how little I drink now compared to how I used to. That's the thing. Sometimes I'll just be lazy. Whether you're outside, having a bonfire, or around neighbor's fire pit, or inside just chilling out on the couch with the dogs and mug of beer or a glass of wine with my wife. That's the thing. For all the work you do, you really got to refresh, re-energize yourself, and allow for that relaxation and maybe a little inspiration along with it to keep you going, to keep you kind of focused going forward. You can't keep your nose to the grindstone 100% of the day. So maybe call it a guilty pleasure, but I think good relaxation time. Just it's particularly at the end of the evening, just doing nothing, just kind of chilling out and thinking and relaxing. It's something I really enjoy.
Nice. All right. How about some things that you can't live without?
Number one, probably coffee. That
Oh,
would be really
God.
hard. And the thing is, with all the the kind of logistics, the supply chain stuff that we're experiencing, my wife can't find it. I can't find my favorite coffee. I'm really starting to freak out
What's
because
that?
it's 8 o'clock. It used to
Okay.
be A&P Coffee. That was an old grocery store, at least in the East Coast. And I grew up with those around, and they're the one. This is the brand where it's got the grinder like in the aisle, and you could smell it. Like people would grind a bag of the whole bean, and
Okay.
you could the smell would fill up the whole store. And
So
I
you're
grew
looking
up.
for like 8 o'clock whole bean, right?
I love it because I got a grinder upstairs. I grew up, my family, we drank Maxwell House, but now I drink it and I don't know, it's like drinking dirt. I don't know, maybe I'm just a snob now. And 8 o'clock isn't really that fancy, but I really like a good cup of coffee. I like Arabica, I think more than Columbia, but good kind of, little medium dark roast. And, that gets me started in the morning. I really enjoy that. Beyond that, drink a lot of water, but also Diet Dr. Pepper. That's I notice engineers really like that drink. It's like the tech drink. I can't explain it, but I grew up drinking Dr. Pepper. Now I'm drinking Diet to keep the sugar down. But I really enjoy that in the afternoon to kind of perk me up.
Nice. Okay. What is one thing on your bucket list?
Well, I want to take my wife to Rome. I was able to go
Okay.
about 20 years ago on work. I was there for just a couple of days, but I really enjoyed it. Beautiful city. I mean, literally 2,700 years of history, ancient architecture. The food is outstanding. I mean, I love Italian food, but the stuff that I had in a simple trattoria in Rome was light years beyond anything I've had in an Italian restaurant here. And I've had some good Italian cooking, but the food over there, just I don't know if it's ingredients or what, how they do it, but it is delicious. So she has never been. We've been to Europe before, but never hit Italy, and we're kind of thinking we got a big anniversary coming up in a couple of years, and we're thinking about maybe putting aside some money to spend a week in Italy, based in Rome. So that's number one.
I will say that's on my wife's and my bucket list as well. We were actually going to do it for our honeymoon when we got married, but then COVID launched and everything locked down, and we had a 2-week trip between Paris to hit like Normandy landings and all the history there for D-Day, and then finish off in Rome. So yeah, it's on our list as well.
That would be a good trip. I guarantee you guys will
yeah.
enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, it was all by train, so that'd be pretty sweet.
That's forget the driving, man. Just like I said, chill out, take a seat, relax, take it all in.
So,
that's great.
What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie is going to be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, okay, nice, classic. Love that.
Yeah, it's a little old school. I think it came out in '66, but I'm a big fan of the spaghetti westerns. You watch some of the old westerns, 30s, 40s. They're kind of simple, but the good one,
era.
Yeah, well, you get into the 50s, that's when it started getting good. But the Italians, Sergio Leone, it was like he took kind of old school European theater and transplanted that genre in his vision of the American West. So just the music, just the movements, the violence. I mean, those gunfights that was a big deal in the mid '60s. American producers and directors, they didn't like, they would show people getting hit and going through the kind of the ragdoll motion, but they were not into gore or blood or anything. I thought that just how it was powerful, and in particularly the music really captivated me. It was just a great show, a lot of action, and I thought Clint Eastwood and all the other actors just did a great job putting on a great show.
Nice. Okay. So kind of, I got 2 more questions for you. One being your most embarrassing story or moment, maybe real life, unit wise, anything that's kind of like crap.
Well, a unit embarrassing moment comes to mind. I mean, right away. I think it was literally my first month. It was January 2020 in the unit. It was new. I was still a E1 private a private trainee at that time, and got signed to First Squad. It was Sergeant Lambert leading at the time, and I was in Alpha Fire Team. And so we just finished some FTX in Pakistan, And no, actually, this was on the virtual reality server where we had the kind of urban area, the Mount Town,
Oh, okay.
and
Yep.
all the other areas. It looked a little weird, but once you get into the areas, we were able to get the training done. But I remember, yeah. So just completed our 2-hour FDX, did some great training on urban operations, LDAs, close quarters combat, and all that good stuff. Feeling good. First squad did well. I got some lauds for doing my part as the new guy in Alpha Fire Team, and we're at the platoon debrief, and I think it might have been Lieutenant Alice who was leading first squad at the time, way back when. But he was giving his debrief, saying what was good, what was bad, giving us the ups and downs. All in all, we looked pretty sharp, as a platoon. And then all of a sudden, I moved my mouse and hit the left mouse button and fired a round right in front of Lieutenant's boots. And Lambert he was on me like immediately. And the next thing I know, Zeus was making me do push-ups in front of the whole platoon. And I remember, my fire team leader, once I fired, I was like, oh shit. And he's like, oh, Brock. And I was like, oh, I've really messed up now. But yeah, they did the push-ups. I was pretty ashamed for the next week, but I got over it and I got my shit together, next time around.
Oh boy, yeah, that would suck. Definitely
It
right in
sucked.
front of
Yeah,
everybody.
that really sucked.
All right. So far, I guess what's your proudest achievement that you've undertaken and succeeded to this day?
All in all, I'm gonna go back home. I'd say my marriage to my wife. We've been married 24. We celebrated 24 a couple months ago. 24 years
Nice.
together. It's been
Congrats.
a hell of a long run. Thank you, sir. I met her in high school. We just we hit it off, and one thing leads to another, and we've been celebrating our marriage for many decades now. Like I said, we got a big one coming up that I'm working on, but that's probably the proudest because it's not easy. There's give and take. Some days things are going your way, some days they're not. But focusing on our relationship as a team, it's like we have goals together. We want to accomplish things together, and I'm really proud of thanks and it's with a lot of inspiration from her of keeping that going all this time. I'm really looking forward to a lot of years together with her.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, congrats on 24 and 25. It's coming quick.
Hell yeah.
That'll come no time. All right. Well, that kind of wraps up our man behind the rank with First Sergeant Brock, and I'd like to say thank you for finally jumping in front of that bullet and and being a part of the man behind the rank. And you're definitely a man behind a lot of things in our unit, and your fingers are in a lot of things, and definitely the success that we've had in the most recent years contributes to your dedication and your passion for being here, and it definitely shows. So a big thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be here. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and whatever I can do to spread that kind of enjoyment with everyone else, man, I'm glad to do it. It's been great serving with you all this time.
Perfect. Well, here's to another 3 years.
Ooh.
Before we jump into the last segment, which we'll be talking about mods, I want to quick dive into an opportunity that some of you may have seen in the title of this podcast, a giveaway, and what that all entails. So, what is going on with this giveaway is currently right now we're in talks of as a command staff team, as a unit, about picking up another game that's currently in developing. So we've had a history in it being in multiple games. It's actually only been this I guess last couple years that we've only had Arma and nothing else. We've usually had like Arma, America's Army Proving Grounds. We've done Squad at one point. We've done Battlefield at one point in our history of the unit. So it's not that we don't want to do multiple games. We actually want to. It's just finding that right fit. What's going to work for a unit or as a unit for us. So the creators of this game actually put out a video just a couple weeks ago about this. Is this game the next Milsim community game? And it's called Direct Contact. So Direct Contact is currently slotted for a Q3, quarter 3 of a 2023 release into the alpha. I won't go into too much detail, but ultimately it's just an authentic warfighting first-person tactical shooter, much along the lines of what we do in it. We'll put the Steam link down below, along with their Discord as well, so that you can check out what their Discord looks like. But ultimately, I have access to this game now. Actually, fun fact: First Sergeant Brock and Sergeant Ivanov also have access to this as my guests for what we call jump the line. If you look on their Patreon page, you got a couple different options. And one thing that's unique about Direct Contact is they contacted me as the leader of 3rd Infantry Division and asked if we can get involved in helping them mold this game's development into being more of the MilSim community and U.S. military. They have other units that are a part of this as well, but none U.S. based. So being able to have that honor of helping the dev team, Ed and Lemon from Direct Contact, we were able to secure some Access the Game Now keys. And that's what I'm going to be giving away as one key to somebody. So the way this works, if you haven't checked it out already, again, the links are down below of the Steam Workshop. Please add it to your wish list so that you know and you get more up-to-dates. I encourage you definitely to get on their Discord for more up-to-date information, their page and stuff like that. But we're going to be putting a little bit of oomph and PR behind this game and seeing what that all entails for us. So with Direct Contact, to qualify to be entered to win, I'm going to say, this giveaway, I will need each person that is listening to this that wants to be a chance to get this key, to obviously be a subscriber of our YouTube page, right? Get on there, hit that subscribe button, help us out there. Make sure you like this video, this podcast, quarter 4 podcast, and then to really enter, to get your name in there and who you are, would be reply HUA in the comment section of this video. So HOOAH HUA. And that is how you get entered to win this key. So the way it's going to work is I'll see who did the comment. Go make sure that they have a like on this video. Make sure that they have a sub to this to our YouTube account, and then that fully enters you in. I'll be drawing the person live on our ceremony February 5th. So it'll be at the very end of our ceremony. So that you can tune in then. We'll go through our whole company formation and everything like that, and I'll wrap it up and hand it off to our platoon staff. And I'll stay on a little later after that to do this drawing of however many people put in for it. But I'll use just a online random name picker of everybody that has put in there, and I'll be drawing a name there, and that person will get a key on me for the game. There is a stipulation to that key, though. We do, all of us, First Sergeant Brock, Staff Sergeant here, we all had to sign NDAs to be a part of this. You're going to be a part of the development of this game and provide context to what MilSim is like. So whether you're in our unit wanting to get in there, which hopefully is the majority of you, or if you're just a random listener that made it, an hour plus into this podcast and wondering what the giveaway is all encouraged as well. But hopefully, with that, you're listening to this and you have the same mindset as us. Hopefully, you join us as well. But stay tuned for that. And again, it's a sub, a like, and a comment. It gets you qualified to receive that key, be in the drawing for that key. So hopefully, check it out. Check out the game. It's definitely worth it. With further ado, we'll kind of jump into our last segment, which involves all of us. So, I mean, First Sergeant, I know we talked a little bit every podcast about an interesting mod that we want to share with the community and something that we've checked out or want to check out. So what's on your radar?
Well, Major, just a couple of days ago, I saw on the workshop a mod called Turret IR Laser. It was released by a developer named Ampersand, and this adds IR laser pointers to turret in game. I did a little bit of testing using their script before we did the podcast here. Was able to get a light on an M2 Browning machine, HMG. I got some error messages, so like I said, it just came out a couple of days ago. I don't know if I kind of invoked the script incorrectly or if it's a work in progress. But I thought that was really cool. They had on the mod page itself, there's a screenshot and it's got all kinds of lasers from all these turrets, like pointing out everywhere. You can do it on vehicles, on the static turrets like the M2, Dishka, etc. I thought that was really cool. It's a nice touch because I've seen it utilized, recently in Afghanistan and Iraq. Putting those IRs on the HMGs and directing fires out long range.
Nice. And if going through again, all these mods will be posting in the description, so you can check those out. I can see this the IR laser currently right now has 28 subscribers to it and 10 favorites. Brought by Ampersand is the creator. So sounds like something worth checking out and definitely having some fun with. I can imagine like a convoy. That'd be really good with convoy security on how each turret goes a different, has to have a certain sector of fire.
Oh,
and
yeah.
be able to really see at night, obviously, where that sector of fire fully is, and the sweeping sector of fire. You can kind of see that with the laser.
That'd be a great tactic.
That would be awesome. We got convoy security coming up here in our training regiment, so we'll see what that one looks like. So for myself, I've been looking at this one. So my wife's a big Disney fan. She actually worked for Disney in her college years, and so obviously, how do I, this military veteran, relate with Disney? Well, honestly, with everything. I mean, from Goofy all the way down. But Toy Story is obviously a very staple of my childhood growing up. From the first one, of course, because I'm older. But the little green army men from Toy Story. There's a mod out there called Army Men Civil War. It's released just before the new year, so it's fairly new, less than 20 days old. Is what it's at. But it is meant for being Civil War. Is kind of like a Sog Prairie. You need Sog Prairie to play it, along with a couple other mods. But ultimately, I mean, it's just you're the Army Green Men. I mean, that's like a skin, and but it has a bunch of different things involved in it. It's released by a Night Wolf. 2112 was the creator. It's had over almost 27 views, or 27,000 views so far, and over 1,000 subscriptions, and just shy of 900 favorites. So you got to think, in 20 days, 27,000 views. That is insane. And definitely awesome to be able to check out. Has over 280 assets in the mod itself, and what's that look like? So, I mean, we were talking earlier about having like Sog Prairie time, and we've had times with Iron Front during the summer months. There we go. Now we need like a Toy Story time. No, I'm joking. But check that out. It's again down below. Definitely pretty awesome to be able to see. There's a Discord there as well on that Steam link to where it goes. So, and then Staff Sergeant, how about yourself? What do you have?
Yeah, as for me, as you know, Russian army has like a new service rifle, aka AK-12. So I want this rifle to be added to our mod pack, of course. Yes, like I'm not talking about like AK-19 or AK-308. Not 18, 19. Sorry. So yeah, when we had like our during our campaign, when we faced like actual Russian military, like, hey, where is the AK-12? I want to run out of ammunition, grab an AK-12 and keep fighting, And still, I had to use like standard AK-74. So yeah, I would like to, use AK-12 though.
Looking at the mod, I mean, seeing that it's the 5.4 millimeter, and What's that look like? You also have what blew me away was the 96 round magazine.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I mean, the Russians really want to make sure they hit their target, I guess. I mean,
I mean, like my American friend once say, like, "Hey, you're Russian. You just spray and pray," you know.
you spray and pray, exactly. um, but ultimately, that's created by Neonex, and it's been out for over a year and a half now, so it's not something new. Back in June of 21, it was released and last updated. Obviously, a texture to the rifle itself looks really cool. About 1,500 views, just shy of 500 subscribers that have it in their mod pack, and 48 people have it as their favorite mod as well. So ultimately, I mean, that's I don't know about getting it added to our mod pack, but I mean, if we ever do an Op4 mission, I mean, I could see it definitely being something we utilize and have some fun with. But
Next time Russia invades, a NATO country, maybe we can add it to the
yes.
mix. That would be fitting, wouldn't it?
Oh, I have to wait the next invasion. Damn.
have to wait next
Hey,
invasion.
with Moscow, man, you probably won't have to wait as long as you might think.
Yeah, that's correct.
He can't confirm nor deny. No.
I'm half joking there.
Exactly.
His internet's being monitored.
Yeah.
Hey, Major, you don't want to be in another list, right?
Yeah. I always have a home for you, Ivan. No worries.
Oh, hell yeah, let's go.
Again, that link to that mod, the AK-12 5.4 5mm variant, is down in our description. So check that out. See what the Russians use for their AK, and see how inaccurate it is, and why the U.S. uses what we use. All right. Without further ado, that kind of wraps things up. We were able to produce this podcast to wrap up technically our 2022 season, our quarter 4. We come back live here in April with our next soldier of the quarter and our next man behind the rank and our first quarter news of 2023. And by April, we'll definitely have a lot of information coming up for where we're going, what we're doing for operations. So I know First Sergeant, you'll have a lot of information there. And then really, who knows who's going to be our soldier of the quarter? I mean, it's the amount of nominations we get and see come through. If you're listening to this and want it, I mean, it's just doing what you signed up to do, and be living our Army values, following our mission statement as a unit, and you're here to have some fun and make it an enjoyable experience, and you're active, and really that does it all. I mean, be here for those 3 months and see if you can make that first quarter soldier of the quarter for 2023. But without further ado, um, I'll sign off and kind of go through First Sergeant and Staff Sergeant. I appreciate you guys stopping in and being with me today. But without further ado, Rock of the Marn.
This is Skyscraper. Action requesting fire mission. Danger